students do Google their professors, and quite another to look a student in the eye with the black and blue evidence on display and say, "Oh, I tried to hang myself a couple of days ago." Even if there were no professional consequences, and I suspect there may have been, I'd worry about laying that kind of weight on the minds of young people, and also about the possibility that it might encourage one of them, who might already be suffering from depression or having suicidal thoughts, to make a bad choice. I've lived nearly all my life with two incompatible ideas in my head. I wish I were dead, and I'm glad my suicides failed. I've never once thought, if only I'd successfully killed myself, I would have been spared all this living I've done. And yet, when I'm feeling like my life has been a complete waste, my first thought is, okay then, go kill yourself now. Or rather, I tend to think along very concrete lines, such as, I'd better just hang myself because I don't have any poison, and if I order some, I'll have lost my nerve by the time it gets here. And it's important that I do this right now, while my thinking is clear, which shows you how confused I actually am. In that moment when I am so convinced that killing myself is the right thing to do, I am as certain that I am finally admitting the truth to myself as one feels one knows, irrefutably, when very angry. Now, at last, I can finally say what I actually always wanted and needed to say. Later, when calm, it's clear this angry certainty did not necessarily reflect the truth at all. Of course, I'm not always struggling with suicidal thoughts. As I write this sentence in the winter of 2022, for example, I don't want to take my own life, and I'm grateful that I'm here. But in a way, gratitude misses the point. You can be grateful for something and still not be up to the task. And if and when the thought should return, yes, do it. Kill yourself. Or simply, come on now, it's time, you're too tired, end it all, get it over with. I'll still be glad that I was previously unsuccessful, because all those failed attempts predate good things that have happened since then, including, most important, the births of my children. I realize how bizarre it sounds to be simultaneously thinking that I have to finally kill myself, while also knowing it was lucky that my previous attempts had failed. If my prior lack of success allowed me to go on living and create and experience good things as a result, shouldn't that logic hold true moving forward? Can't I learn that giving into this impulse is a mistake? Maybe I am learning, slowly. But in the moment I'm gripped by the desire to die, I don't believe more good things are coming down the road. More to the point, regardless of what the future may offer, I'm convinced my still being here will only make matters worse. Holding two incompatible thoughts in one's head in this way is not so unusual, really. We often call it cognitive dissonance. It's the essence of self-deception. And it is an example of one of the many varieties of deep irrationality that make human beings the extremely interesting creatures we are. Do I contradict myself? Very well, then. I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes. Walt Whitman's famous observation applies not only to life-affirming thoughts, but to self-destructive ones as well. Being divorced with children is an easy example of how this kind of thinking works. I regret my 2 divorces and feel a great deal of shame about them. If I could, I would go back and correct my mistakes and be a better husband. But at the same time, I am grateful to have been married to all 3 of my partners, and especially for the children who came from those marriages. If I hadn't divorced my first wife and subsequently remarried, I wouldn't have my daughters Margaret and Portia. And if I hadn't divorced my second wife, I wouldn't be married to my wonderful wife Amy or be father to Ratna and Kali. Amy and my 5 children are my main reason for living. Often, they feel like my only good reason. Today I'm glad I am alive. I am thankful that,